Welcome to today's video, where we're going to dive deep into a concept that can truly transform how we handle life's challenges. Training your mind to respond, not react. In our fast-paced, chaotic world, it's easy to get swept up in the flood of emotions, stress, and external pressures. We often find ourselves reacting impulsively to situations, only to regret our words or actions later. But Stoic philosophy offers a powerful alternative, responding with intention and clarity instead of reacting impulsively. This isn't just about staying calm. It's about cultivating a mindset that empowers us to navigate life's difficulties with greater wisdom and strength. Today, we'll be breaking down what it really means to respond instead of react, why it's so crucial in today's world, and how you can start training your mind to embrace this Stoic principle. We'll also go through some practical tips that you can apply in your daily life to make this shift. So, grab a seat, get comfortable, and let's get into it. Number 1. Understanding react versus respond, the Stoic perspective. Let's dive deeper into what reacting versus responding really means, especially from a Stoic perspective. At first glance, these two concepts might sound very similar, but in reality, the distinction between them can be life-changing. When you react to something, you're driven by your immediate emotions. It's an automatic, knee-jerk response to whatever stimulus comes your way. Often, these reactions are impulsive, quick, and not fully thought out. Think of it like touching a hot stove. The instant your skin feels the heat, you pull your hand away without considering why or what happened. You simply react. In daily life, reactions happen all the time. Someone says something that offends you, and before you even realize it, you're snapping back with a sharp comment. Or maybe your phone rings during an important meeting, and in a rush of embarrassment and stress, you fumble and drop it, creating even more chaos. These are small, everyday examples of what it looks like when we let our emotions take over. The problem with reactions is that they're often driven by fear, anger, frustration, or anxiety. Emotions that tend to cloud our judgment. And once the heat of the moment passes, we might regret our reactions because they weren't aligned with our true intentions or values. Now, responding is different. It's deliberate, intentional, and mindful. When you respond, you take a moment, however brief, to assess the situation. You think about the consequences of your words or actions, and you decide how best to proceed based on your principles and goals. This doesn't mean you're slow or robotic. It just means you're operating from a place of awareness and control, rather than emotional volatility. It's like the difference between throwing a punch out of anger versus taking a step back and diffusing the situation. The latter requires emotional regulation, self-control, and clarity, qualities that Stoicism encourages us to cultivate. To understand this better, think about a stressful situation we all face. A traffic jam. Reacting might involve honking the horn, cursing under your breath, or getting upset at the delay. But does this reaction change anything? Number. The traffic remains, but now you're angry, stressed, and drained. Responding, however, means accepting the situation for what it is and choosing a more mindful, composed approach. Maybe you turn on your favorite podcast, take a few deep breaths, or remind yourself that getting upset won't get you to your destination any faster. Marcus Aurelius, a Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, often reflected on how to maintain this composure under immense pressure. He believed that true power comes from controlling our inner world, not trying to control the uncontrollable external world. One of his famous quotes is, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This perfectly encapsulates the idea that responding thoughtfully rather than reacting emotionally gives us the freedom to live with more peace and control. In our modern, fast-paced world, reacting is almost the default. Social media, instant messaging, and the constant flow of information can make us feel like we need to respond immediately. We see someone's post, and before we know it, we're firing off an emotional comment. But reacting in this way often fuels negativity and leads to more conflict, frustration, or regret. Stoicism teaches us to slow down. The pause between stimulus and response is where our power lies. Taking even a moment to reflect allows us to choose a response that aligns with our values and long-term goals, instead of one driven by fleeting emotions. For example, if someone makes a hurtful comment, your initial reaction might be to snap back. But by pausing and responding mindfully, you might realize that engaging in a calm conversation, or not engaging at all, is the better choice for maintaining your peace and integrity. This isn't about suppressing emotions, but about recognizing them and then deciding how best to act. It's about mastering the ability to not be swayed by every impulse. By doing so, we build emotional resilience and clarity, which serve us in all areas of life, from relationships to career decisions to personal challenges. Responding instead of reacting gives you control over your life. It allows you to navigate challenges without being derailed by momentary emotions. And that, according to the Stoics, is one of the greatest sources of strength. By training yourself to pause, reflect, and respond thoughtfully, you're not only improving your interactions with others, but also fostering inner peace and self-mastery, which are at the heart of Stoic philosophy. Number 2. Why responding over reacting matters in today's world. In a world where we're constantly bombarded with information, opinions, and challenges, the ability to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively is a superpower. We live in an era of instant gratification. Messages are sent in seconds, news spreads like wildfire, and social media rewards immediate engagement. This environment often encourages knee-jerk reactions, but Stoic philosophy teaches us the value of patience, reflection, and intentional responses. Consider social media interactions. One negative comment can trigger an emotional reaction, leading to arguments or even online conflicts. A quick reaction often escalates the situation, turning what could have been a small misunderstanding into a full-blown argument. But if you take a moment to pause and reflect, you can respond in a way that either diffuses the situation or reframes it constructively. This not only protects your peace of mind but also sets an example for others. In the workplace, the difference between reacting and responding can make or break your career. Imagine you're in a meeting and a colleague criticizes your work. A reaction might be to become defensive or lash out, which could damage your professional reputation. But a response, where you calmly acknowledge the feedback and ask questions to understand it better, shows emotional intelligence and a willingness to learn. This is key in professional settings where emotional stability is often valued as a sign of leadership potential. Reacting, in many cases, is driven by emotion. When someone cuts you off in traffic, the immediate anger you feel may cause you to honk, yell, or even try to retaliate. But how does that help? It certainly doesn't change the situation. In fact, it often leaves you feeling more frustrated and drained. Responding, however, gives you control over the situation. Instead of reacting, you could take a deep breath and remind yourself that you can't control the actions of others, but you can control your own peace. This shift in mindset, while seemingly small, can reduce stress and improve your overall well-being. Stoicism emphasizes the power of focusing on what is within our control. We can't always control what happens to us, whether it's a rude comment, a traffic jam, or unexpected bad news, but we can control how we choose to respond. This principle applies to all aspects of life, from minor inconveniences to major life challenges. When we react, we often give our power away to external circumstances. We allow situations or people to dictate our emotional state. But when we respond, we reclaim that power. We decide how we want to handle the situation, which ultimately leads to more measured and effective outcomes. Responding over reacting is also crucial in personal relationships. Whether it's with family, friends, or romantic partners, how we handle conflicts can either strengthen or weaken the relationship. Reacting emotionally during a disagreement might mean saying things you don't mean, escalating the argument, or creating unnecessary tension. On the other hand, responding thoughtfully, by taking a moment to breathe, reflect, and choose your words carefully, can lead to healthier, more productive conversations. It shows respect for both yourself and the other person, and it helps build trust and understanding. Even in parenting, the distinction between reacting and responding can have a profound impact. Children often push boundaries and test limits, sometimes provoking strong emotional reactions from parents. Reacting with anger or frustration might temporarily resolve the issue, but it doesn't foster long-term understanding or growth. Responding with patience and thoughtfulness, however, sets a positive example for how to handle difficult emotions and teaches children valuable lessons about emotional regulation. In today's fast-paced society, responding over reacting isn't just a personal practice, it's a societal need. We live in a world filled with differing opinions, political polarization, and social tension. Reacting emotionally to opposing views often leads to further division and conflict. But if more people practiced responding, listening, reflecting, and engaging thoughtfully, we could foster greater understanding and cooperation in our communities. Ultimately, choosing to respond over react is a form of self-mastery. It requires self-awareness, emotional control, and the ability to pause before acting. But the rewards are immense. By responding thoughtfully, you maintain control over your emotions, reduce stress, and improve your relationships. You also become a more effective communicator, a better leader, and a more resilient individual. Training your mind to respond instead of react isn't easy. It takes practice and patience. But as the Stoics believed, true strength lies in the ability to control your inner world, regardless of what's happening externally. When you master this skill, you become more grounded, more peaceful, and ultimately more in control of your life. Number 3. Strategies for training the mind to respond. Training your mind to respond instead of react is a skill that takes time to develop, but it is incredibly rewarding. One of the most powerful strategies for doing this is cultivating self-awareness. Self-awareness is about understanding your thoughts, emotions, and triggers, so you can recognize when you're on the verge of reacting emotionally. By becoming more aware of your internal state, you can start to interrupt that automatic reaction process and choose a more thoughtful response. For instance, let's say you're having a stressful day at work, and a coworker makes a snide remark. Your immediate reaction might be to snap back, especially since you're already on edge. But if you're self-aware, you might notice that your irritation isn't just about the remark, it's also about the stress you've been carrying all day. Recognizing this allows you to pause, take a deep breath, and respond calmly. You might say, "That comment caught me off guard. Can we talk about it?" rather than firing back an angry response. The next step in training your mind is to practice what the Stoics call the pause. Before you react to any situation, take a brief moment to pause. This pause can be as short as a few seconds, but it's enough to create a gap between the stimulus, what happened, and your response, what you choose to do next. In that pause, ask yourself, is my reaction going to help or hurt this situation? Will it align with my values, or will it escalate things? This strategy can be especially useful in high-stress situations. For example, if you receive an unexpected email that feels accusatory or confrontational, your initial reaction might be to fire off a defensive reply. But if you take a moment to pause, you might realize that sending an emotional email could create more tension. Instead, you can respond with professionalism and clarity, which not only keeps the situation from escalating, but also earns you respect. Another effective strategy for training your mind is to practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is the practice of being present in the moment, without judgment. It helps you become more aware of your thoughts and emotions as they arise, which makes it easier to catch yourself before you react. When you're mindful, you're able to observe your emotions without being consumed by them. Instead of getting swept up in anger or frustration, you can acknowledge those feelings, let them pass, and choose a response that's aligned with your goals and values. Number 4. The power of self-awareness and the pause. The concept of pausing before reacting is central to Stoic philosophy, and a powerful tool in training your mind to respond rather than react. Imagine self-awareness as the compass that guides you through life's emotional storms. It's about being in tune with your thoughts, emotions, and triggers, recognizing how they influence your behavior. and using that understanding to create a buffer between stimulus and response. Think about a situation where someone makes a hurtful comment. Your immediate reaction might be anger, leading you to snap back with a remark that only escalates the conflict. But with self-awareness, you can notice your emotions bubbling up and catch yourself before you react impulsively. This is where the power of the pause comes in. By pausing, even for just a few seconds, you create space between the event and your emotional response. In that space, you can choose to respond more thoughtfully. Let's break it down with a relatable example. Imagine you're driving in traffic and another car cuts you off. Your instinct might be to honk, yell, or even try to cut them off in return. This is a typical reaction, an emotional response driven by frustration and a sense of being wronged. But now imagine you've trained yourself to pause. You notice the surge of anger. Take a deep breath, and instead of reacting, you remind yourself that the other driver's actions are out of your control. Maybe they're having a bad day or didn't even realize they cut you off. By pausing, you've prevented a small incident from ruining your mood or causing unnecessary stress. The pause is incredibly powerful because it gives you the chance to shift your perspective. Rather than reacting based on the heat of the moment, you're able to step back and assess the situation more objectively. You might ask yourself, is this really worth getting upset over? How can I respond in a way that aligns with my values? This shift in thinking can completely transform how you handle challenging situations. In the workplace, this technique can be a game changer. Let's say you receive criticism from a colleague or your boss. Reacting emotionally, whether it's defensiveness, anger, or frustration, can damage your professional relationships and even hinder your growth. But with self-awareness and a moment of pause, you can choose to respond constructively. Instead of seeing the criticism as a personal attack, you might view it as an opportunity to improve or understand a different perspective. You could say, "Thank you for the feedback. Can you give me more details on how I can do better?" This kind of response not only diffuses potential tension, but also shows that you're mature, open-minded, and committed to self-improvement. This approach is equally valuable in personal relationships. Imagine you're in an argument with a loved one, and they say something hurtful in the heat of the moment. Reacting with similar harshness might feel satisfying in the short term, but it often leads to deeper conflict and regret. By pausing and becoming aware of your emotions, you can respond in a way that fosters communication rather than division. You might say, "I'm feeling hurt by what you said and I'd like to talk about it." This not only keeps the conversation respectful, but also helps resolve issues in a more constructive way. The Stoics believed that most of our suffering comes from our perceptions and judgments, not the events themselves. By practicing self-awareness and pausing before reacting, we can change how we perceive situations and, as a result, reduce our emotional turmoil. This is particularly helpful in moments of stress, disappointment, or frustration. Rather than letting those emotions take over, the pause allows us to reflect and choose a response that aligns with our higher self. Mindfulness, which is often paired with self-awareness, plays a crucial role in developing the ability to pause. Being mindful means being present in the moment, fully aware of your thoughts and emotions without judgment. It's about observing your internal state rather than being consumed by it. When you're mindful, you're less likely to be swept away by emotions and more capable of maintaining clarity and calm. Let's say you're dealing with a personal disappointment. Maybe you didn't get a promotion or an opportunity you were hoping for. Reacting might involve feelings of resentment, frustration, or self-pity. But mindfulness allows you to sit with those emotions, acknowledge them, and then let them pass without letting them dictate your behavior. You might choose to reflect on what you can learn from the situation or shift your focus to other areas of growth. By pausing and practicing mindfulness, you create a mental space that empowers you to respond in ways that are more productive and aligned with your long-term goals. In conclusion, self-awareness and the pause are fundamental to responding rather than reacting. These tools allow you to break free from automatic emotional reactions and choose a more thoughtful, intentional path. With practice, you'll find that this approach not only improves your interactions with others, but also enhances your own sense of inner peace and control over your life. The more you cultivate these habits, the more resilient and centered you'll become, no matter what life throws your way. Number 5. Reframing perspectives and focusing on what we can control. A key Stoic principle is the idea of reframing your perspective and focusing on what you can control. This teaching is especially important when it comes to training your mind to respond rather than react. The Stoics believe that much of life's suffering comes from trying to control things that are inherently outside of our power. By focusing only on what we can control, our actions, reactions, and mindset, we free ourselves from unnecessary emotional turmoil. Let's start by understanding the difference between external events and internal reactions. Imagine you're working on a big project at work, and at the last minute a technical glitch causes a delay. The glitch itself is an external event. It's something you cannot control. But how you respond to it is entirely within your power. If you react by panicking or getting frustrated, you've let an uncontrollable event dictate your emotions. However, if you take a step back and reframe your perspective, you can see the glitch as a problem to solve rather than a personal failure. This shift in thinking allows you to maintain calm, focus, and a sense of agency. Reframing is all about looking at the same situation from a different angle. Instead of viewing obstacles as threats or burdens, Stoicism teaches us to see them as opportunities for growth. This is where the practice of controlling your perception comes into play. For example, if you're passed over for a promotion, your initial reaction might be disappointment or frustration. But what if, instead of reacting with resentment, you reframe the situation as a chance to develop your skills, gain more experience, or even find new opportunities elsewhere? By shifting your perspective, you empower yourself to respond in a way that is constructive and forward-thinking. In personal relationships, this mindset can be incredibly powerful. Let's say you have a friend who frequently cancels plans at the last minute. Your gut reaction might be to feel disrespected or unimportant, but by reframing the situation, you might realize that their behavior has more to do with their own stress or time management issues than a lack of care for you. This doesn't mean you tolerate bad behavior indefinitely, but it does allow you to respond with empathy and understanding, rather than anger or hurt feelings. You might choose to have a calm conversation about how their cancellations affect you, instead of reacting impulsively in the moment. A classic Stoic exercise is the dichotomy of control, which helps you break down situations into two categories: what you can control and what you cannot. Imagine you're preparing for an important presentation, but on the day of the event, you wake up with a sore throat. You can't control the fact that you're feeling unwell, but you can control how you prepare and how you adjust your presentation style. Maybe you decide to focus on concise points to conserve your voice or use visuals to emphasize your message. By concentrating on what's within your control, you prevent yourself from spiraling into frustration or panic. The Stoics often use nature as a metaphor for this principle. Just as we can't control the weather, we can't control external events in our lives, but we can always choose how we respond to them. Think of it like a ship navigating through a storm. The storm is beyond the captain's control, but how they steer the ship, adjust the sails, and manage the crew, that's entirely up to them. In the same way, life will inevitably throw storms our way. But Stoicism teaches us to focus on steering our ship with wisdom and clarity, rather than getting swept away by the waves. This approach is particularly useful in today's fast-paced, often chaotic world. With the rise of social media, constant news cycles, and global uncertainty, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by events that are out of our control. The Stoic mindset helps to counteract this by encouraging us to focus inward on what we can influence. Instead of getting swept up in the emotions stirred by a troubling news headline, for instance, you can ask yourself, what can I do in my own life to contribute positively? This might mean volunteering, donating, or simply being kinder to those around you. It's about redirecting your energy towards constructive actions, rather than letting external chaos dictate your mental state. One practical way to apply this in daily life is to regularly remind yourself of the things that are within your control. When you find yourself feeling frustrated, stressed, or anxious, pause and ask, am I reacting to something beyond my control, How can I reframe this situation? With practice, this exercise helps you build a habit of responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Take the example of dealing with a difficult colleague at work. You can't control their behavior or attitude, but you can control how you interact with them. You might choose to set boundaries, maintain professionalism, and focus on your own work rather than letting their negativity affect your mood. By reframing the situation as an opportunity to practice patience and emotional resilience, you've turned a potentially draining situation into a chance for personal growth. In conclusion, reframing your perspective and focusing on what you can control is one of the most powerful tools in training your mind to respond rather than react. By adopting this Stoic approach, you gain a greater sense of calm, clarity, and control over your life. It empowers you to navigate challenges with grace and resilience, no matter what external events come your way. The more you practice this mindset, the more naturally it will come to you, helping you build a life grounded in wisdom and inner peace. Number 6. Mindfulness practices for a Stoic life. Mindfulness plays a crucial role in living a Stoic life, helping to train your mind to respond instead of react. In many ways, Stoicism can be seen as an ancient precursor to modern mindfulness practices. The essence of mindfulness is about being present in the moment, aware of your thoughts and emotions without being consumed by them. This self-awareness is the foundation of responding thoughtfully rather than reacting impulsively. Imagine a situation where you're overwhelmed with deadlines at work, and someone suddenly asks you for a favor. Your immediate reaction might be irritation or stress, causing you to snap or make an excuse to avoid the request. However, with mindfulness, you have the ability to pause, recognize your feelings, and consciously choose how to respond. You might say, "I'm really busy right now, but I can help you later." The practice of mindfulness helps create that space between an event and your reaction, allowing for a more measured and intentional response. Mindfulness encourages you to observe your thoughts and feelings as they arise without immediately acting on them. Let's take a common scenario: receiving critical feedback. The instinctive reaction might be defensiveness or frustration, leading you to argue or dismiss the feedback. But with mindfulness, you can recognize the emotional surge, pause, and instead of reacting impulsively, ask yourself, is there truth in this feedback? How can I use this to improve? By doing so, you transform what could be a negative interaction into a learning opportunity. One of the practical ways to integrate mindfulness into your life is through meditation or simple breathing exercises. Meditation allows you to practice sitting with your thoughts, observing them without judgment. In doing so, you build the mental habit of pausing before reacting in daily situations. For example, if you're feeling anxious about a big presentation, instead of letting that anxiety dictate your actions, mindfulness allows you to acknowledge the feeling and then calmly focus on what's within your control. This could mean preparing thoroughly, rehearsing, and visualizing success. All actions that align with a thoughtful response rather than a reaction fueled by anxiety. Mindfulness also involves focusing on the present moment, a key aspect of Stoicism. The Stoics believed in concentrating on the here and now, rather than worrying about the past or the future, both of which are beyond your control. Think about a time when you've been stressed about something that hasn't even happened yet. An upcoming meeting, a conversation you're dreading, or an uncertain outcome. The stress of these future events often leads to reactive behaviors, like procrastination or avoidance. But by practicing mindfulness, you anchor yourself in the present, focusing on what you can do right now to influence the situation positively. Let's say you're preparing for an exam. A reactive mindset might involve cramming, staying up late, and stressing about whether you'll pass or fail. But a mindful approach focuses on the task at hand, studying effectively and getting enough rest. Instead of fixating on the outcome, you pay attention to the process, trusting that your present efforts will shape the future. This mindset shift not only helps reduce anxiety, but also ensures that you're responding to the situation in a way that promotes long-term success. In relationships, mindfulness can be a game changer. Consider an argument with a partner or family member. In the heat of the moment, emotions often take over, leading to reactive behaviors, yelling, saying things you don't mean, or even walking away in frustration. But if you approach the situation mindfully, you're able to step back, observe your emotions, and choose a response that fosters communication and understanding. You might say, "I'm feeling frustrated right now, but I want to talk about this calmly." This kind of response not only diffuses the immediate conflict, but also strengthens the relationship by showing that you value thoughtful, respectful communication. Mindfulness also helps you become more aware of the patterns that trigger your reactions. Maybe you've noticed that certain situations, like being interrupted, for example, tend to trigger anger or frustration. By being mindful, you can anticipate these triggers and prepare yourself to respond rather than react. You might practice taking a deep breath when you feel the irritation rising, or remind yourself that the interruption isn't personal. Over time, this practice rewires your brain to handle similar situations with greater composure and emotional intelligence. In today's fast-paced digital world, mindfulness is more important than ever. We're constantly bombarded with information, notifications, and distractions, all of which can provoke reactive behaviors. Think about the last time you received an unexpected email that upset you. Did you immediately fire off a response only to regret it later? This kind of reaction is common in our hyper-connected world, where there's an expectation of instant communication. But with mindfulness, you can train yourself to pause before hitting send, take a moment to breathe, and craft a thoughtful, measured reply. One simple way to practice mindfulness is to incorporate short pauses throughout your day. For instance, before responding to a text message or email, take a moment to breathe and consider your response. Before speaking in a heated conversation, pause to reflect on your emotions and choose words that align with your values. These small pauses may seem insignificant, but they can have a profound impact on how you navigate daily interactions. In conclusion, mindfulness practices are essential for cultivating a Stoic mindset. By being fully present, observing your thoughts and emotions without judgment, and creating space between stimulus and response, you build the mental resilience needed to respond thoughtfully in any situation. Whether it's handling criticism, managing stress, or navigating personal relationships, mindfulness helps you stay grounded and in control of your reactions. The more you practice mindfulness, the more naturally you'll find yourself responding with calm and clarity, no matter what challenges come your way. Number 7. Implementing response over reaction in daily life. One of the most transformative aspects of Stoic philosophy is learning how to implement the practice of responding over reacting in daily life. It's one thing to understand the theory, but it's another to apply it consistently in real-world situations. This is where Stoicism truly shines, because it provides practical tools and exercises to integrate these teachings into everyday life. At its core, responding rather than reacting is about intentionality. It's about creating space between an event and your immediate response, allowing you to act with purpose rather than letting your emotions dictate your actions. Imagine you're in traffic, running late to an important meeting, and someone cuts you off. The natural reaction might be anger or frustration, maybe even honking your horn or yelling at the other driver. But how does that reaction help? Does it make the traffic move faster or get you to your destination sooner? Probably not. All it does is increase your stress. Now, picture the same scenario, but instead, you choose to pause, take a breath, and remind yourself that the situation is out of your control. By responding with calm acceptance, you save yourself unnecessary stress and frustration. Incorporating this mindset into daily life starts with awareness. You need to recognize the moments when you're about to react impulsively and catch yourself before you do. This doesn't happen overnight. It's a skill that takes time to build. A great way to start is by reflecting on situations where you tend to react emotionally, whether it's in traffic, at work, or in personal relationships, and make a conscious effort to pause the next time those triggers arise. Over time, the more you practice this pause, the more naturally it will come. Let's say you're at work, and a colleague takes credit for something you've done. Your first reaction might be to confront them angrily or complain to your boss. But reacting impulsively might escalate the situation and damage your professional relationship. Instead, responding thoughtfully might involve calmly addressing the issue in private, asking your colleague for clarification, and explaining how you feel. This approach not only resolves the issue more effectively, but also preserves your integrity and professionalism. The key here is recognizing that your initial emotional reaction doesn't have to define your actions. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control external events, but we can control how we respond to them. This means understanding that life will inevitably throw challenges, frustrations, and disappointments your way. How you handle those moments determines the quality of your experience. For example, if a project you've worked hard on fails, your instinct might be to feel defeated, frustrated, or even blame others. But by applying Stoic principles, you can shift your perspective. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this failure? How can I use this setback to improve and grow? By framing the situation as a learning opportunity, you turn what could be a reactive moment of frustration into a response rooted in growth and resilience. The practice of responding over reacting also extends to personal relationships. Let's say you've had a long, stressful day, and when you get home, your partner is in a bad mood. They snap at you over something minor, and your instinct might be to snap back, leading to an argument. But what if, instead of reacting, you took a moment to pause, recognize that their behavior might be influenced by factors you're unaware of, and choose to respond with empathy? You could say, "It seems like you've had a tough day. Do you want to talk about it?" This response not only diffuses the tension but also strengthens your relationship by showing that you value understanding and communication over impulsive reactions. One practical exercise that can help in implementing this mindset is the practice of evening reflection, an exercise recommended by the Stoics. At the end of each day, take a few minutes to review your actions and reactions. Ask yourself, did I respond thoughtfully today, or did I let my emotions take over? Where could I have acted with more intention? This daily self-reflection helps you become more aware of your habits and gives you the opportunity to course correct for the future. Over time, it strengthens your ability to respond thoughtfully in the moment. In moments of high emotion, when it's particularly difficult to pause, grounding techniques can be incredibly helpful. This could be as simple as taking a few deep breaths, counting to 10, or physically removing yourself from the situation for a moment to collect your thoughts. These small actions can create just enough space between stimulus and response to allow you to act with intention rather than reacting impulsively. For example, if you're in a heated conversation and feel yourself getting worked up, excusing yourself to take a short walk can give you the clarity you need to respond in a way that aligns with your values, rather than letting the emotion of the moment drive your behavior. Another practical approach is to set daily intentions. At the start of each day, remind yourself that you aim to respond, rather than react to whatever challenges may come your way. This simple mental commitment can help anchor you throughout the day, making you more likely to pause and choose your responses carefully. For example, before heading into a potentially stressful meeting, you might tell yourself, "No matter what happens, I will stay calm and approach this with a clear mind." This intention serves as a mental guidepost, helping you navigate difficult situations with more composure. In conclusion, implementing response over reaction in daily life is a continuous practice that requires awareness, reflection, and intention. It's about recognizing that while we can't always control what happens to us, we can always control how we respond. By building the habit of pausing, reframing situations, and acting with purpose, you not only reduce unnecessary stress but also cultivate a sense of inner peace and resilience. The more you practice this mindset, the more it becomes second nature, allowing you to navigate life's challenges with the wisdom and clarity of a true Stoic. Number 8. Practical tips for cultivating a responsive lifestyle. Cultivating a responsive lifestyle is essential for anyone looking to embrace Stoic principles and navigate life's challenges with grace and intentionality. By focusing on how you respond rather than react, you can enhance your emotional intelligence, improve your relationships, and foster a sense of inner peace. Here are some practical tips to help you integrate this mindset into your daily life. First, start with the practice of mindfulness. Mindfulness is about being present in the moment and aware of your thoughts and feelings without judgment. One effective way to cultivate mindfulness is through meditation. Set aside a few minutes each day to sit in silence and focus on your breath. As thoughts arise, acknowledge them without getting caught up in them, and gently return your focus to your breath. This practice trains your mind to observe rather than react, creating a habit of pausing before responding to external stimuli. For example, if you find yourself feeling anxious before a meeting, use your meditation time to ground yourself. Recognizing your emotions without judgment allows you to approach the meeting with a clearer, more focused mindset. Another practical strategy is to develop the habit of reflection. Set aside time each day, perhaps in the evening, to reflect on your experiences. Ask yourself questions like, how did I respond to challenging situations today? Did I allow my emotions to dictate my actions? This reflective practice not only helps you learn from your experiences, but also reinforces your commitment to responding thoughtfully in the future. If you notice patterns in your reactions, like becoming defensive during disagreements, this reflection can guide you to develop alternative responses. For instance, if you find yourself snapping at your partner during discussions, you might commit to taking a deep breath and asking clarifying questions instead. Setting intentions each morning can also help cultivate a responsive lifestyle. Before diving into your daily tasks, take a moment to identify how you want to show up. Perhaps your intention for the day is to practice patience or to respond to stress with calmness. Writing down your intentions can make them more tangible and serve as a reminder throughout the day. For example, if you have an important presentation, your intention might be, I will remain composed and open-minded, regardless of the audience's reactions. When challenges arise, these intentions can serve as anchor points, guiding you to respond in alignment with your values. Another helpful technique is to use the 10-second rule. This simple strategy involves taking a moment to pause before responding to any situation that triggers a strong emotional reaction. Count to 10 in your head, take a deep breath, or even step away for a moment if possible. This brief pause can make a significant difference, allowing you to process your emotions and choose a more thoughtful response. For example, if you receive critical feedback from a supervisor, instead of reacting defensively, take those 10 seconds to consider the feedback objectively. You might respond with, "Thank you for your input. I'll take some time to reflect on it." Journaling can also be a powerful tool for cultivating a responsive mindset. Writing down your thoughts and feelings can help you process your experiences and gain insights into your emotional patterns. Consider journaling about your daily interactions and how you responded to various situations. Reflect on what went well and what you could improve. Over time, you'll begin to see trends in your behavior, which can guide your efforts to change. For instance, if you notice that you often react with frustration when things don't go as planned, you can start to develop strategies for better responding in those moments. Engaging in physical activity is another excellent way to cultivate a responsive lifestyle. Exercise not only boosts your physical health but also improves your mental well-being. It can help reduce stress and anxiety, making it easier to respond thoughtfully in challenging situations. Whether it's going for a run, practicing yoga, or participating in team sports, regular physical activity promotes mental clarity and emotional resilience. For example, if you're feeling overwhelmed at work, a quick walk or workout can provide the mental reset needed to approach your tasks with a clearer mind. Surrounding yourself with supportive relationships can significantly impact your ability to respond rather than react. Seek out friends, family, or mentors who embody the qualities you aspire to cultivate. Engaging in conversations with them can provide valuable insights and encouragement. Share your goals for responding thoughtfully and ask for their support in holding you accountable. When you have a strong support system, you're more likely to succeed in your efforts to embrace a Stoic mindset. Lastly, Remember the importance of self-compassion in your journey toward a responsive lifestyle. Understand that change takes time, and setbacks are a natural part of the process. When you find yourself reacting impulsively, instead of berating yourself, approach the situation with kindness. Reflect on what you can learn from the experience and commit to doing better next time. This self-compassion fosters resilience, allowing you to bounce back more quickly and continue striving for your goals. In summary, cultivating a responsive lifestyle is about building habits and practices that support intentionality and self-awareness. By incorporating mindfulness, reflection, setting intentions, utilizing the 10-second rule, journaling, engaging in physical activity, surrounding yourself with supportive relationships, and practicing self-compassion, you can train your mind to respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. The journey towards a more intentional way of living is ongoing, but with dedication and practice, you'll find yourself navigating life's challenges with greater ease, clarity, and resilience.